Have you ever noticed what happens the moment you don't react? When you don't defend yourself? When you don't explain? When you don't raise your voice? When you don't rush to prove anything? At first, it feels wrong, because the world trains you to react instantly, to argue, to justify, to explode. But Stoicism teaches something that destroys emotional chaos. Power is not in reaction. Power is in restraint. The moment you stop reacting emotionally, something shifts. People begin to treat you differently. Situations lose their ability to control you, and your mind stops being a battlefield and becomes a command center. In this episode, you will learn what truly happens when emotion no longer drives your behavior, and why this single change transforms how others see you, how you see yourself, and how much control you actually have over your life. This is not about becoming cold. It is about becoming unshakable. Let us begin. People lose their power over you. When you react emotionally, you hand someone the keys to your inner world. Your anger becomes their lever. Your hurt becomes their steering wheel. Your defensiveness becomes their map. Every visible reaction teaches others how to move you. If they want attention, they provoke. If they want control, they insult. If they want dominance, they press emotional buttons. And most people never realize this is happening, because emotional reaction feels honest, it feels natural, it feels justified. But Stoicism exposes a hard truth. What controls your emotions can control your behavior, and what controls your behavior can shape your life. When someone insults you and you explode, they learn that words can own you. When someone ignores you and you chase, they learn that silence can dominate you. When someone disrespects you and you beg to be understood, they learn that pressure works. This is not about cruelty, it is about awareness. The moment you stop reacting emotionally, a strange shift occurs. Their tactics stop working, the insult lands, and nothing happens. The provocation arrives and finds no entrance. The drama is offered and finds no audience. And this creates discomfort in the other person, because now they have no feedback, no proof of influence, no emotional reward. They begin to lose orientation. They don't know how to reach you anymore. They don't know which move will produce a response. This is where real power appears. Not loud power, not forceful power, but psychological independence. You are no longer a mirror for other people's chaos. You are no longer a sponge for their instability. You are no longer a stage for their emotional performance. Instead, you become a boundary. You listen without absorbing. You observe without igniting. You decide without flinching. And others feel that. They may describe it as confidence. They may call it maturity. They may think you've changed. But what has really happened is this. You stopped leaking emotional control. You did not suppress yourself. You reorganized yourself. Emotion still rises, but it does not rule. Anger may appear, but it does not drive. Fear may whisper, but it does not steer. You have not become empty. You have become unreachable by manipulation. This is why calm people feel dangerous to unstable people, because they cannot be moved easily. They cannot be shaken quickly. They cannot be dragged into emotional traps. And this changes the social dynamic completely. People who once tested you stop testing. People who once provoked you grow quieter. People who once dominated you lose their grip, not because you fought them, but because you removed the handle they used. This is the first reward of non-reaction, freedom from emotional ownership. When you stop reacting emotionally, you stop being something others can use. You become something others must respect. And respect is born not from loud defense, but from quiet unavailability. You begin to see the truth instead of the drama. When you react emotionally, you don't see reality. You see a threat. Your mind goes into survival mode. It scans for danger, disrespect, rejection, and loss. And once it thinks it has found one, it stops thinking clearly. This is why emotional reactions are fast, loud, and messy. They are designed to protect, not to understand. But protection without understanding creates illusion. A neutral tone feels hostile. Silence feels like rejection. A boundary feels like betrayal. A mistake feels like an attack. You are not responding to facts. You are responding to a story your emotions are writing in real time. And stories are powerful. They make villains out of tired people, enemies out of misunderstandings, threats out of uncertainty. The moment you stop reacting emotionally, you step outside the story. And when you step outside it, you finally see the stage. You notice things you never noticed before. Who benefits from conflict? Who feeds on reaction? Who calms situations? Who escalates them? You begin to observe behavior instead of absorbing it. Instead of thinking, they disrespected me, you notice, they needed a reaction. Instead of thinking, they don't care, you notice, they avoid accountability. Instead of thinking, they're against me, you notice, they're uncomfortable with boundaries. This shift is everything. Because when you see why people behave the way they do, you stop being hypnotized by what they do. You stop wrestling shadows. You stop arguing with tone. You stop fighting emotion with emotion. You stop mistaking noise for truth. And something unsettling happens. The people who once confused you become predictable. The situations that once overwhelmed you become simple. The conflicts that once felt huge become small. Not because they disappeared, but because you outgrew the illusion around them. You start to recognize patterns. Who only speaks when they want something? Who only listens when they feel threatened? Who only apologizes when they're losing control? This is not bitterness, it is vision, and vision is power. Because now you don't respond to mood, you respond to meaning. You don't react to provocation, you respond to intention. You don't fight appearances, you move based on reality. And reality often says, this isn't about you, this is about them. That realization alone dissolves half your emotional suffering. You stop personalizing what was never personal. You stop carrying what was never yours. You stop defending what was never attacked. And once you see clearly, your actions change. You speak less. But when you speak, it lands. You move slower, but you move correctly. You stop trying to win emotionally and start positioning yourself strategically. You no longer ask, how do I feel about this? You ask, what is this really showing me? That question transforms conflict into information. And information is the raw material of control. This is why people who stop reacting emotionally start to look intimidating, not because they are aggressive, but because they are awake. They are no longer trapped inside the drama. They are reading it. And once you can read the game, you are no longer forced to play it blindly. This is the second change. You don't just become calmer, you become dangerous in the quiet way. Because now, you don't see chaos, you see patterns. People lose their power over you. The moment you stop reacting emotionally, something strange happens in your relationships. The balance of power shifts, not because you became louder, not because you became aggressive, but because you became unreadable. Most people don't control others through strength. They control them through reaction. They say something sharp to see if you flinch. They withdraw to see if you chase. They criticize to see if you defend. They provoke to see if you explode. Your reaction is their feedback. It tells them, check mark what hurts you, check mark what scares you, check mark what hooks you, check mark what controls you. As long as you react emotionally, you are broadcasting your weak points in real time. But when you stop reacting, they lose the map. The insult doesn't land. The silence doesn't bait you. The drama doesn't pull you in. And that confuses people who were used to steering you with emotion. Some will push harder at first. They'll escalate. They'll test again. Why? Because control addicts don't quit easily. They need proof that their influence is gone. But when you remain steady, when your tone doesn't change, when your behavior doesn't swing, they realize something uncomfortable. They no longer decide how you feel. And that is terrifying to people who built their identity around managing others. This is why emotionally disciplined people are often called cold, detached, changed. Not because they are empty, but because they are no longer available for manipulation. You are no longer pulled into arguments you didn't choose. You are no longer forced into explanations you don't owe. You are no longer dragged into moods that aren't yours. Your nervous system becomes private property, and when that happens, you stop being easy to move. You stop being easy to pressure. You stop being easy to guilt. You stop being easy to rush. You choose your response instead of donating it. This is what real independence looks like, not cutting people off, not dominating conversations, not proving strength, but standing still while emotional storms pass around you instead of through you. People feel this shift immediately. They notice you don't argue the same way. You don't chase the same way. You don't beg the same way. You don't explain the same way. And because they can't pull you into reaction, they are forced to deal with something they avoided before: your boundary. Some will respect it, some will resent it, some will leave, some will adjust, but all will feel it, because emotional control is social gravity. Those who react are pulled. Those who don't react become anchors. This is why calm people dominate rooms without speaking much, not through intimidation, through stability, because stability makes others orbit. Instability makes others collide. When you stop reacting emotionally, you don't become passive. You become positioned. You are no longer easy to move, which means you are no longer easy to use. And that is the third transformation. You don't gain control over others. You gain freedom from them. And freedom is the strongest form of power there is. Your mind becomes clear instead of noisy. When you stop reacting emotionally, your mind finally gets quiet enough to think. Not empty, not numb, clear. Emotional reaction creates mental noise. Arguments replay. Messages get rewritten in your head. Imagined conversations run all night. What should I have said? Why did they do that? How do I fix this? That noise feels productive, but it isn't. It is energy leaking without direction. When you react emotionally, your brain is busy defending, proving, justifying, or attacking. There is no room for strategy, no space for judgment, no distance for wisdom. But when you stop reacting, The noise fades, and something powerful replaces it. Perspective. You start seeing patterns instead of insults, motives instead of moods, behavior instead of words. You don't ask, "How do I win this?" You ask, "What is actually happening here?" That is a higher level of thinking. Instead of being inside the storm, you step above it. And from above, things look different. You notice, this person always escalates. This situation always drains you. This pattern repeats, not emotionally, logically. Clarity is dangerous, because once you see clearly, you stop feeding chaos. You don't rush to respond. You don't rush to explain. You don't rush to fix what isn't yours. You start choosing silence where noise used to live, distance where drama used to sit, action where panic used to rule. This is why emotional discipline feels powerful, not because it suppresses feelings, but because it organizes them. Instead of being ruled by emotion, you consult it. Instead of exploding, you assess. Instead of spiraling, you decide. Your thoughts slow down, your decisions sharpen, your reactions become responses. And this changes everything. You stop saying things you regret. You stop committing to things you don't want. You stop giving energy to situations that don't deserve it. You become selective, not cold, selective. Because clarity teaches you something emotional reaction never can. Not every feeling deserves a voice. Not every trigger deserves a response. Not every conflict deserves your energy. And when your mind becomes quiet, your life becomes simpler. Not easier, cleaner. Less mess in your thoughts, less chaos in your relationships, less regret in your choices. This is the hidden reward of emotional control. You don't just gain peace, you gain vision. And a person with vision cannot be easily led, easily rushed, or easily used. That is what happens when you stop reacting emotionally. Your mind stops being a battlefield and becomes a command center. Your self-respect grows quietly. When you stop reacting emotionally, your relationship with yourself changes first, not outwardly, internally. Emotional reactions often come from one place: the need to protect your ego in real time, to prove you were right, to show you were hurt, to make sure they know what they did, to defend your image. But every time you react from emotion, you send yourself a subtle message: I can't tolerate discomfort without acting. And over time, that weakens self-trust. When you stop reacting, you prove something to yourself. I can hold this. Not because it doesn't hurt, but because it doesn't control you. That is where self-respect is born. Not in winning arguments, not in having the last word, but in knowing you didn't abandon yourself just to release pressure. You begin to admire your own restraint. You notice, I didn't explode. I didn't chase. I didn't beg. I didn't collapse into impulse. And that builds an internal reputation. You start seeing yourself as someone who doesn't break easily, doesn't need validation to stabilize, doesn't trade dignity for relief. This is important because self-respect is not built by confidence. It is built by behavior. You respect yourself when you act in alignment with who you want to be, especially when it's hard. And emotional moments are the test. Anyone can be calm when nothing is happening. Strength shows up when something is happening. When you stay composed while provoked, when you stay grounded while misunderstood, when you stay quiet while tempted to react. You are training a new identity. I am someone who does not panic when things go wrong. That identity becomes your backbone. And something else changes too. You stop needing others to validate your emotions. You no longer need apologies to feel whole, agreement to feel right, attention to feel valued, because you gave yourself what you used to beg for: control. This is why emotional discipline feels lonely at first. You are no longer outsourcing your regulation, you are doing it yourself. But loneliness becomes strength when you realize you don't need permission to be stable. You don't need an audience to be calm. You don't need approval to keep your dignity. That is self-respect in action. And people feel it, not because you announce it, but because you no longer bargain with your standards. You don't explain why you deserve respect. You behave like you do. You don't demand better treatment. You stop accepting worse. And that is the fifth transformation. When you stop reacting emotionally, you don't just change how others see you. You change how you see you. And once you respect yourself, you become very difficult to manipulate, very difficult to rush, and very difficult to break. Because self-respect is the quiet form of strength that never needs to prove itself. You take back control of the situation. When you react emotionally, you surrender control without realizing it. Your mood becomes tied to their words. Your behavior becomes shaped by their actions. Your peace becomes dependent on their behavior. That is not power. That is exposure. The moment someone can trigger you on demand, they are no longer dealing with you. They are controlling your nervous system. Strong people understand this. They know that control is not about dominating others. It is about not being dominated internally. When you stop reacting emotionally, you break the invisible leash. No more instant anger, defensive explanations, emotional spirals, rushed decisions, regretful messages. You create a pause, and inside that pause is command. Instead of reacting, you observe. Instead of attacking, you assess. Instead of proving, you choose. That single shift changes every interaction. Because now, when someone tries to provoke you, you don't give them energy. You don't give them drama. You don't give them leverage. You give them nothing to work with. And that is unsettling to people who rely on reaction. They expect noise, emotion, defense, conflict, but they meet stillness, silence, distance, clarity. This forces a power shift, not because you became aggressive, but because you became unresponsive to manipulation. You are no longer predictable, and predictability is what manipulators feed on. When you stop reacting emotionally, you decide when to speak. You decide when to leave. You decide when to act. Not out of fear, not out of pride, but out of position. You become the one setting the tempo. That is real control. Not controlling people, controlling your response to people. And with that control comes strategic behavior. You stop over-explaining, over-defending, over-justifying, over-correcting. You start observing patterns, measuring intent, choosing distance, choosing timing. This makes you dangerous in the best way, calm under pressure, stable under insult, clear under stress. And here's the part most people miss. Control is not loud. It does not shout. It does not argue. It does not chase. It waits. It watches. It moves only when necessary. When you stop reacting emotionally, you reclaim authorship of your actions. You stop being a mirror of other people's chaos. You stop being pulled into their storms. You stop fighting battles you didn't choose. You become centered, and a centered person is hard to manipulate, hard to rush, and impossible to control through emotion. That is the sixth transformation. When you stop reacting emotionally, you don't lose power. You take it back. Your presence becomes intimidating without you trying. When you stop reacting emotionally, something strange happens. You don't become louder. You don't become colder. You don't become aggressive. You become harder to read. And that unsettles people. Most people are used to emotional feedback. Anger means they hit a nerve. Defense means they gained control. Arguing means they're still important. Explanations mean you're still trying. But when you stop reacting emotionally, you remove all of that. No raised voice, no emotional defense, no rushed response, no visible frustration, just calm. And calm has weight. Because calm tells the other person, I am not shaken by you. I am not desperate to be understood by you. I am not fighting for emotional dominance. You are no longer performing emotions for the room. You are standing in yourself. This is why emotionally disciplined people often seem intimidating even when they are kind. Not because they are threatening, but because they are unavailable for chaos. People who manipulate through emotion feel exposed around you. People who seek validation feel unsure around you. People who rely on drama feel powerless around you. Because your stillness removes their stage. You don't reward provocation. You don't amplify tension. You don't collapse into reaction. And this creates a new dynamic. Instead of you adapting to their emotional state, they start adapting to yours. Instead of pulling you into their storms, they feel pulled into your calm. This is influence without force. You don't need to dominate conversations. You don't need to win arguments. You don't need to explain yourself repeatedly. Your energy does the work. Because when someone realizes, I can't move them emotionally, they also realize, I can't control them. And that changes how they treat you. They become more careful with their words, more measured with their tone, more aware of their behavior. Not because you threatened them, but because your presence signals boundaries without ever announcing them. This is why Stoics valued inner restraint, not as weakness, but as authority of the self. A person who cannot be pulled into emotional chaos becomes a psychological anchor. Others feel it. They may not know why, but they feel that you are different, not dramatic, not reactive, not unstable, but steady. And steadiness carries gravity. That is the seventh transformation. When you stop reacting emotionally, you don't become invisible. You become formidable without effort, not by fear, not by force, but by self-command. And in a world ruled by impulse, that kind of presence feels like power. Conclusion. When you stop reacting emotionally, you stop bleeding power into moments that don't deserve it. You don't become numb, you become selective. You don't become cold, you become centered. You don't lose emotion, you gain command. This is the Stoic shift, from impulse to intention, from reaction to rule, from chaos to clarity. Most people are controlled by what they feel. The disciplined are guided by what they choose. And that is the difference between being dragged by life and standing inside it with authority. This is the path of NexusMind, not noise, not rage, not drama, but a forged inner system built on restraint, reason, and unshakable calm. If this lesson sharpened your thinking, like the video, share it with someone who needs control, not comfort, and subscribe for more Stoic discipline and mental strength. Forge the mind, master the moment. This is NexusMind.